I never thought I'd see a helicopter hovering above my ranch, let alone one carrying the governor of our state, but that's exactly what happened last Tuesday until it was forced to circle helplessly in the summer heat, unable to land. The reason? One woman with a clipboard, a bright orange HOA vest, and a stubborn streak that could stop an army convoy. Her name was Deborah Klene, though everyone in town knew her as Karen of the Hillside HOA. She'd been a thorn in my side for years, sending me fines for grass that looked aggressive, and once claiming my porch wind chimes violated noise harmony standards, but blocking a rescue helicopter, that was a new level of absurd. It started at noon. I'd been repairing a broken fence near the pasture when I got a frantic call from the state emergency office. The governor's team had been conducting an aerial inspection of wildfire zones when one of their security members suffered a heart episode. They needed a safe landing spot fast. My ranch, with its open north field, was the closest. I ran to clear the area, heart pounding, already picturing the chopper touching down. But when the sound of its blades filled the valley, a white SUV screeched up my driveway. Deborah jumped out, sunglasses reflecting the spinning helicopter overhead. "You can't land that here," she shouted over the roar, arms waving like she was guiding traffic at an airport. "It's an emergency," I yelled back. "Someone's life is on the line." She planted herself squarely in the middle of the field's access road, clipboard in hand. HOA bylaws prohibit aerial vehicles without board approval. That includes helicopters. For a moment, I thought it was a sick joke. The pilot circled again, clearly waiting for the signal to land. My radio crackled, "Sir, we're burning fuel." "Status?" I turned back to Deborah. "That's the governor up there." Her jaw didn't budge. Even the governor has to follow the rules. Rules keep our community safe. While someone was in cardiac distress, I could feel my blood pressure spiking. In the distance, the helicopter tilted slightly, signaling its third pass. Time was running out. I took a step toward her, ready to drag her out of the way if I had to, but she lifted her phone and began dialing. "If you touch me, I'm calling the sheriff. You're trespassing on HOA-controlled property." Somewhere above us, the helicopter's blades thumped harder against the air, and I realized we were seconds away from disaster. The chopper's shadow swept across the field like a giant warning, the thump of the rotors rattling my ribs. My phone buzzed again, another call from the governor's aide, but I couldn't take it. My eyes were locked on Deborah, who was now pacing in a slow circle, clearly enjoying her role as gatekeeper. "Deborah, listen to me," I said, trying to steady my voice. "If that helicopter can't land, someone could die." She paused, lips curling into that smug smile she'd perfected over years of HOA meetings. "And if I let them land without proper clearance, the entire neighborhood could file a complaint. Property values could drop. Do you want to be responsible for that?" I stared at her, incredulous. "You're talking about property values while there's a medical emergency happening over our heads?" She shrugged. "Rules are rules." The helicopter circled lower, wind whipping dust across the pasture. I could see the pilot's helmeted head turning, searching for a landing signal. Through the open side door, a paramedic leaned out, gesturing urgently. I knew I couldn't reason with Deborah, so I made a move. Sprinting toward the gate, I unlatched it and waved both arms toward the open field. The pilot saw me, adjusted the nose of the helicopter, and began descending. That's when Deborah made her play. She darted in front of me, waving her clipboard like a stop sign, shouting, "Illegal landing in progress. I'm calling county enforcement." Her voice was drowned out by the deafening roar of the helicopter coming in low. The downdraft blasted her orange vest and sent her papers flying like startled birds. She staggered but didn't move from the path. My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from the governor's team, *fuel critical. Landing now or diverting, diverting meant a 12-minute flight to the nearest safe zone, 12 minutes the patient might not have. I grabbed the small two-way radio clip to my belt, one I kept for ranch work, and switched to the emergency frequency. Clear the field. This is an authorized medical landing. Deborah's eyes widened. You can't, but before she could finish, a sharp voice crackled from my radio, this is state security. We have visual on obstruction. Please advise if removal is necessary. I met Deborah's gaze. You just became the obstruction. The rotors roared louder, dust blinding us both, and in that moment, I saw her face twist, not in fear, but in stubborn defiance. The air was a wall of noise and grit as the helicopter made another desperate pass, blades slicing the sunlight into flickers. I shielded my face, peering through the dust at Deborah's unmoving silhouette. She looked like a scarecrow in the wind, arms crossed, chin lifted, absolutely immovable. My radio crackled again, field obstructed. Fuel at 4 minutes. Advise alternate landing site. 4 minutes. I imagined the patient inside, the governor's security aide strapped to a stretcher, oxygen mask on, every bump in the air another jolt to his heart. The thought made my stomach tighten. Deborah, please, I shouted. You're not just blocking a helicopter, you're gambling with a man's life. She held up her phone, angling it toward me. I'm documenting everything for the board. You'll be fined, possibly removed from the HOA entirely. The irony was almost laughable. She was threatening my membership while the state's highest official circled overhead, but I didn't have time for her games. I ran toward the center of the field, ignoring her screeches, and raised both arms in a wide arc, the universal signal for landing clearance. The helicopter dipped in response, the downdraft buffeting my hat clean off. Then Deborah did something I couldn't believe. She ran straight toward the descending helicopter, waving her clipboard like a weapon, screaming, "You do not have permission." I lunged, catching her arm before she crossed into the rotor wash zone. "You're going to get yourself killed," I yelled. She twisted away. "Better me than the integrity of our bylaws." That's when a deep, commanding voice boomed over a loudspeaker, "Step aside immediately. This is a state-ordered medical landing." The sound froze her mid-step. The helicopter hovered barely 10 feet off the ground now, dust churning in furious spirals. Through the open door, I could see the governor himself, gray hair swept back, eyes narrowed, headset in place, looking directly at the chaos below. His voice came again, sharper, "Clear the field, ma'am." For the first time, I saw uncertainty flicker across Deborah's face. Her grip on the clipboard loosened, and she glanced at me like she was weighing her next move. But then, with the stubborn pride of someone who'd never lost an argument, she shook her head and stepped back into the path. The pilot jerked the nose up, aborting the landing with a thunderous rush of wind. The helicopter banked away, heading toward the distant horizon. And just like that, the patient's last chance at a quick rescue vanished into the sky. The field fell eerily silent after the helicopter disappeared beyond the hills, the fading thump of its rotors replaced by the rustle of dry grass in the breeze. Dust still hung in the air like a veil, and Deborah stood in the middle of it all, straightening her vest as if she'd just completed some noble duty. I stared at her, disbelief boiling into anger. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" She met my glare with cool composure. "I prevented an unauthorized landing. That's what the HOA pays me for." "Unauthorized?" I took a step closer. That was the governor's rescue helicopter. The man inside could be dying right now because you wanted to quote bylaws. Deborah tucked the clipboard under her arm and smirked. "The rules apply to everyone. No exceptions, not even to politicians with fancy titles." Before I could respond, my phone rang again. This time, I answered. The voice on the other end was tight with urgency. It was the governor's aide. "Sir, our patient's condition worsened during diversion. He's en route to county hospital now, but we lost 6 critical minutes. The governor wants to know exactly who stopped us from landing." My eyes locked on Deborah, who was brushing dust from her sleeves like she was getting ready for a dinner party. "Oh, he'll know," I said into the phone. He'll know her name, her position, and every word she said. The aide's voice was grim. Stand by. We'll be sending a team to speak with you shortly. Deborah's smugness wavered at that, just for a second. Who was that? She asked. State security, I said flatly. They're coming here. She laughed, though it sounded more like a nervous tick. Please, I've dealt with pushy officials before. They can't touch me. The HOA board will back me up. I didn't reply. Instead, I walked back toward the barn, needing space before I said something I'd regret, but my mind was already spinning with what was coming next. The governor was a man who valued loyalty and quick action. People who got in his way didn't just get ignored, they got noticed. An hour later, the distant hum of engines rolled up my driveway. 3 black SUVs, windows tinted, came to a stop in the gravel. Men in suits stepped out, scanning the property with the deliberate precision of people used to command. Deborah froze on the porch steps, finally realizing this wasn't a routine HOA matter. When the lead agent pointed directly at her and said, "We need to talk," her face drained of color. The lead agent's voice cut through the warm afternoon air. "Ma'am, step forward." Deborah hesitated, clutching her clipboard like a shield. "Is this really necessary?" "I'm a community representative, not a criminal." The agent didn't blink. "We'll decide that after you answer some questions. This pertains to interference with an emergency medical operation." Her lips parted as if to argue, but another agent stepped toward her, flashing a badge. "You knowingly obstructed a state-ordered helicopter landing. We have visual confirmation and multiple witnesses." I stood a few yards back, arms crossed, watching the confidence drain from her like water from a cracked vase. "I was enforcing HOA bylaws," she said, her voice climbing in pitch. "They were about to land without permission. That's against community rules." The lead agent's tone turned hard. "The governor's team requested that landing because his security officer was suffering a cardiac episode. Your interference delayed life-saving treatment." Deborah glanced around, perhaps hoping for a neighbor to step in, but no one did. The only sound was the crunch of gravel as another SUV door opened, and out stepped a tall figure in a gray suit. It was the governor himself. He walked toward us with calm precision, his expression unreadable. When he stopped in front of Deborah, the weight of his presence seemed to push the air down around us. "You're the one who blocked my helicopter," he said evenly. Deborah swallowed hard. "Sir, he raised a hand, silencing her. "Do you know what it's like to watch a man under your protection struggle to breathe, knowing you're minutes from a safe landing, only to be turned away by someone quoting rules?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The governor's eyes narrowed. "Rules are meant to protect lives, not endanger them. What you did today was reckless, selfish, and dangerously short-sighted." Deborah's voice was barely a whisper. "I didn't think." "That's the problem," he said sharply. He turned to the agents. "Take her statement, then make sure the district attorney gets the report. I expect full accountability." Deborah's hands trembled as they guided her toward one of the SUVs. The clipboard slipped from her fingers, landing in the dirt with a muted thud. The governor faced me next. "Thank you for trying to help. You did the right thing." His voice softened, but only slightly. "I'll make sure this doesn't happen again." As the SUVs rolled away with Deborah inside, the late sun dipped behind the hills, leaving a strange quiet in their wake. 2 days later, the quiet hum of my ranch life returned, at least on the surface. The cattle grazed lazily, the fences stood firm, and the north field, where the drama had unfolded, looked no different. But beneath that calm, the ripples from Deborah's obstruction were spreading far beyond our little HOA. That morning, my phone rang again. It was the governor's aide, his tone far warmer this time. "The security officer pulled through," he said. "He's stable now. The doctor said every minute counted, and while we lost time, your attempt to clear the field made a difference." Relief loosened the knot in my chest. That's good to hear. There's more, the aide continued. The governor's issuing a statement about the incident. He's making an example of how bureaucracy can't stand in the way of saving lives. Sure enough, by evening, the story hit the local news. Footage from the helicopter's onboard camera played on repeat, Deborah standing defiantly in her orange vest, clipboard clutched like a weapon, the helicopter hovering above her. Interviews with emergency responders painted her actions in the worst possible light. The HOA board scrambled. By the following week, a formal meeting was called. I sat in the back, arms folded, as the president cleared his throat and announced, effective immediately, Deborah Klene is removed from her position as compliance officer. Gasps filled the room, followed by a murmur of approval from the very neighbors she'd fined and scolded for years. Deborah wasn't there to hear it. Word was she'd lawyered up and moved temporarily to stay with family out of state. After the meeting, I stepped outside into the cool night air. The stars were bright, and for the first time in days, the sky felt open again. A low hum drew my gaze upward. It was faint at first, but then I saw it, a helicopter, this time flying low and steady toward the north field. It circled once, then descended gently into the same open space Deborah had once guarded like a fortress. When the rotors slowed, the governor stepped out, walking toward me with a rare smile. Thought I'd make a proper landing this time, he said. I chuckled. Looks like no one's blocking you now. He extended his hand. No one will again. Not here. The night air carried the scent of fresh hay and cooling earth. For all the chaos Deborah had caused, the outcome was clear. Sometimes it takes one loud, stubborn obstruction to remind people why swift action matters. And as the helicopter lifted back into the night, the sky finally belonged to the wind again. If you enjoyed watching how this wild HOA showdown unfolded, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another jaw-dropping story like this. And don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you would have done in this situation.